My name is Daniel Doring. I'm the owner of Fast Cape Martial Arts Center here in Liberty, and I am honored to be the chairperson of the Liberty Area Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors this year. It is with great pleasure that I welcome you today to this first Chamber Luncheon of 2021. Please welcome Mayor Lyndall Britton.
Well, we've all endured a pretty amazing year, in fact. The State of the City in 2020 was one of the last events that I did publicly. And in fact, I remember jokingly extending an elbow to Gary Zabarak, the director of the Clay County Public Health Department, and I kind of gave him one of these, and he said, "Oh, I don't think we need that yet." Little did we all know, huh? So 2021, an amazing year. The two messages, if you take nothing else, Liberty was open and is open for business and development and growth and prosperity. And we're standing strong. We've stood strong for the last 11 going on 12 months now of this pandemic, and we've got a bright future in front of us. So industrial inventory and job growth was a bright spot for us in a year that you might otherwise think everybody had pretty well hunkered down in this area. Liberty Parkway Plaza, if you've been on South Liberty Parkway at all, you know there's a rather large building out there, a little over 700,000 square foot. It's a $75 million investment. We expect when it's fully occupied, it'll bring about 400 new jobs to this community. We already have one tenant, Kenco, the largest woman-owned distribution company in the United States, has taken the first 300,000 square feet. And currently out for lease and yet to be named is a second tenant that will occupy approximately 250,000 square feet of that building. So it's leasing quickly. It's in a good location. Lane 4 is the developer. On the north side of that property, if I can, right up here, there are 8 commercial sites that are referred to as Liberty Parkway Plaza, and in fact that's the monument sign that you see here. They've already erected a monument sign. I'll introduce the way the developer introduced last night. The first tenant is in the process now of finalizing paperwork with the city and the lease. He introduced this tenant as a convenience store with gas stations whose name does not begin with Q or the number 7. As I said, they're famous for an Italian dish that's served on round dough. So there'll be other announcements on those other 8 pad sites, but we'll have commercial development there. All told, there'll be 2 additional buildings, not near as large as the 700,000 square foot, one about 120 and another about 80, and then somewhere in the 100,000 square feet of retail space. So this development will be over probably about 1 million square feet under roof once it's actually completed. Really excited about this opportunity. They have not turned any ground yet, but last night in council meeting we actually approved 2 plats for the first 2 buildings, the Liberty Commerce Center. So think about what I just told you. Liberty Parkway Plaza, Liberty Logistics Building, 700,000 square feet under roof, what you see there. The Liberty Commerce Center is slated to be 3,600,000 square feet under roof when it is complete. It'll consist of 8 buildings, as you see on this diagram, or this picture. It's going to be located east, or it is located east of the Liberty Stamping Plant and probably a quarter mile south of South Liberty Parkway. It will be a $400 million investment. Again, when fully occupied, should bring approximately 3,000 additional jobs to this community. And as I said last night, we approved the first 2 buildings, about 800,000 square feet under roof. And those first 2 buildings, and they expect to start doing construction this summer. And that, if you're familiar with Hughes Road, or right now where you come down Withers Road and you're forced to turn right or left at the light, Withers Road will be extended into that development for vehicular traffic. Only no truck traffic will be allowed on Withers Road. And then Hughes Road will be significantly modified and rebuilt for the truck traffic that will access that. That is offered by North Point Development. They build a significant amount of square footage throughout the United States in industrial park and business park centers. They also were the developer of the Copper Ridge Apartments, just above Hy-Vee on the hill there. Heartland Meadows Phase 2, our business park north of the city on 69 Highway and Lightbird Street. We're just about out of lots there, but we do have a building that's being erected by Opus Development, 180,000 square foot, tenant yet to be determined. It's a $14 million investment by that developer, and we expect that to, again, bring new jobs to our community, approximately 180 new jobs. So if you're kind of keeping score there, 400 plus 3,000 plus 180, you can see there's 3,600 new jobs coming to our community in the next few years in just these 3 developments alone. There's also a notation on there about KC Tech Academy. I think we spoke about that last year, and that work continues to bring an alternate to college for individuals, not only graduates of high school, but also people who were looking to change careers in high-tech skills, whether that be robotics, engineering, electric, mechanical, not engineering, mechanics, I'll get it. But this will be a wonderful opportunity for those 3,600 jobs that are coming to our community. That's one of the questions we always get. What's your labor workforce look like? We are going to have these jobs. KC Tech Academy is going to be poised to provide a lot of those high-tech individuals to provide, fill those jobs. Other future opportunities, and this is a little hard to see, but, well, maybe not. Section A here is north of Heartland Meadows, actually just across 69 Highway, 200 acres of, all of this is basically brown or green pasture land at the moment. The Tierney property is 68 acres, just a little bit further north and east of that property. And then the Nolan property, 198, almost 200 acres, immediately east of Heartland Meadows. So there's a lot of opportunity in the north portion of our city for additional industrial development. In addition to industrial development, we had quite a bit of single-family and multi-family development going in our city. We had, I think, between 70 and 80 permits. I don't remember the exact number of permits pulled for new homes in the last 12 months. And so you see here some of the developments. Timber Ridge by Ken Personette, Capstone Homes. Homestead and Homestead Hills, adjacent to this facility. Joe Duffy, Dan Carr. Clay Meadows, the 11th plat. Jim Robertson just keeps building homes out there, he and his family. Lillian Hills, 33 lots just south of Manor Hill School. And then Ella Crossing, which is just adjacent, actually across Mill Street from the Mabee Center behind William Jewell College. Tim Harris Star Development is the builder in that area. So again, if you kind of do the math on that real quick, over 300 available residential lots either being constructed on now, has a home on it now, or will be available for home construction. So there's a lot of residential single family going on in this community. Multifamily residential, if you've been to the post office by the pickleball courts on Withers Road, you'll notice there's a lot of construction going on between Kent Street and Progress Street. That is the Wellington, a $26 million investment, 153 units for seniors. That, interestingly, is being built by the O'Reilly family. You might know them more, or you might recognize that name more as O'Reilly Auto Parts. This is part of that family's business plan, is building facilities like these. And then they have not turned around yet, but across from Fire Station 1 downtown on Prairie and Mississippi Street, Park Place at Liberty Square, 38 units, which should provide some vibrancy and an opportunity for folks to live and actually commute by foot to and from the square every day. Should be, and the architecture of this facility is very much to blend in with the surrounding area, the historic district area. So there's a lot of opportunity for single and multifamily. And again, you can see that these are some of the opportunities that we've identified. Liberty North High School right there. About 1,000 acres, 1,100 acres in that area, currently owned by Hallmark, that is on the market for potential development. And there are conversations going on with a potential developer in this area. Hope to be making announcements on that soon. Cardinal Hill Golf Course, William Jewell College is looking to redevelop that property. Withers Road south of the library, so just out this door and basically right across the street, 50 acres between here and South Liberty Parkway on Withers Road. And then the whole area that was opened up when we completed South Liberty Parkway from Withers Road to 291 Highway, there's about 1,000 acres there that's available for residential, primarily residential, but we expect there will be some commercial growth, especially at the intersection of South Liberty Parkway and 291. Quite a few quality of life things. If you've been by the city park, you know right now it's closed. Unfortunately, it's closed today as nice as weather it is, but we've got lots of other parks and trails you could take advantage of today. The city park is going to have a $2 million complete makeover. Complete with new inclusive playground, a new spray ground, a complete loop trail, new pavilions, expanded parking, new restroom facilities. It'll be an outstanding park. It's somewhat the premier park in our park system, but we've made numerous improvements throughout the city and the neighborhood parks. We have somewhere between 10 and 12 neighborhood parks, and we've made improvements in most, if not all of those, in the last 12 to 24 months. Another improvement that hopefully has been relatively transparent to you is we changed out the entire meter system throughout the city, over 10,000 meters. We converted from old mechanical meters that had long passed their useful life and replace those with electronic meters. Those can be read remotely. They will allow us to, right now when we do meter readings, or when we did meter readings with the old mechanical system, you physically had to have a person go out, open the meter lid, read the meter, and then close the meter lid. And there were all kinds of issues related to staffing that, having the meter lids open and closed, etc. These will be read by radio, so there will not be any walking individuals, and they can be read real time by you online, which is the smart online portal. You can see almost real time the consumption of water that you have going at any moment. So I had 2 teenagers, they're grown adults now, but for you that have teenagers, you could actually tell that kid how much water they used. You could watch how much from the time they walked in until they walked out, how much that water usage spiked. This will also allow you to go online, make payment arrangements, and it just is a much more responsive system, and we believe it will provide much better customer service. I might mention anecdotally, I had a customer call and say he's kind of enamored with the system, so he was playing around with it, set his, you can set a warning position on your screen where if the water usage goes above this, it'll send you a message that maybe something's afoul in your house as far as water consumption. Well, his went off recently, and he said, I didn't really understand that. And come to find out, they had done some work on a humidifier associated with his furnace in the basement, and they had not closed a valve. So whenever that humidifier came on, he said that thing was spilling out water into the drain about to the tune of 20 or 30 gallons a minute. Had he not had this online, had he not been somewhat of a savant as it relates to monitoring his water consumption, he said, gosh, if you add that up, that goes off 3 or 4 times a day and 7 days a week, you're going to get into some real water usage and some real money. So this is a real opportunity for you if you were interested to kind of control and monitor your usage. That was, I might mention, that's about a $4.5 million investment. We don't anticipate we will spread that out, amortize that over the life of the meter, so there won't be any significant change in water rates related to the installation of this new equipment. Some of the community partner highlights, I want to note two in particular. Mid-Continent Library, I don't know if you've had a chance to be in that facility or view it online, but it's a pretty amazing facility that's just across the street from us here. It was one of the things that the library district promised when they floated a bond a couple of years ago. Not a bond, but a sales tax. And we're very fortunate that we have such a nice facility in our community. And then the Liberty High School Performing Arts Theater. I've only heard how amazing that facility is. If you've been in the Performing Arts Theater at Liberty North High School, I understand it's very, very comparable and will allow the students at Liberty High School to enjoy the same fine arts opportunities that are had at Liberty North High School. Just a couple others, just to give them some love. William Jewell College is rebranding their critical thinking and tuition rebranding. I'm going to misspeak, but I'll give you this just for a sense of magnitude. I believe their tuition was somewhere between $35,000 and $50,000 a year. And the promise to that was almost everybody will get scholarships and financial aid, which will help mitigate that expense. Well, they felt like that a lot of people weren't even coming through the door because of the sticker shock. So they've rebranded, and they're now advertising their tuition for a year at William Jewell at just under $19,000. And they're seeing a huge response in folks that now are entertaining the idea of attending William Jewell College. I already mentioned Liberty Public Schools. Clay County, as you know, will be undergoing a charter form of government. So those are some things that our community partners are positive things going on in their realms. Financial update. This is a strategy that the City Council and I have pursued for over a decade now, and that is to hold property taxes flat. In a time when we've had various sales taxes approved, we committed to hold property taxes flat. And as you can see with the other communities around us, Gladstone's about the same as Liberty. And the rate that we have this year for the Liberty, it's the lowest in more than 10 years. I think it's actually lower than the last 25 years as a levy rate. And what we do as the valuations of your properties increase, which we all hope the value of our property is going up, we offset that by lowering the levy rate so that when you multiply the property value times the levy rate, you still get the same answer today that you got 10 years ago as to what the city portion, and I'll emphasize that, the city portion of your property tax bill would be. And as you can see, North Kansas City, Excelsior, Smithville, and Kearney not only have, well, they have city taxes, but then in the case of Smithville, they do not provide ambulance or fire protection, so they have a fire district and an ambulance district, so that's what you see the asterisk there. Their citizens pay those two districts plus city tax. And you can see last on the list, City of Kansas City, which is almost double what the property taxes, the city property taxes are in this community. And so, as I say, that's been an intentional strategy. We feel like the services this city provides, we want to balance those. We provide services for property, protection for property. We also provide services for individuals, whether that's Public Works providing roadways for the visitors that come to our city and workers that come to our city every day, or whether it's public safety people. So this allows us to balance individuals, whether they live here or whether they visit. Customarily, they will be paying sales taxes and help pay for those services that have been rendered. And we don't overextend or get the formula out of balance that the property taxpayers are paying an inordinate amount of the city services that are provided. I also wanted to take a little bit of time. We have a number of tax abatements that are rolling off, and I know there have been some articles in the paper recently about the City of Kansas City reevaluating their tax abatement policies. I I will say, in my opinion, the City of Liberty has been pretty prudent, cautious, and careful as we've extended tax abatements. But to be competitive in the marketplace, that is some tool that we have had to utilize. So you can see TIF Triangle Phase A, you know that as Lowe's. Lowe's received a TIF, that was a TIF district which had a 23-year, potential 23-year abatement. As you can see, that went in service in 2004, and it was retired in 16 years rather than the 23 years that it could have potentially been abated. Once that is retired and that debt is extinguished, as you can see, tax revenues start flowing back to the various taxing jurisdictions. $210,000 in economic activity taxes, and then $182,000 just from Lowe's will start coming back to taxing jurisdictions. If you want to do the math, about 80% of that will go to the Liberty Public School District. Similarly, Triangle Phase B, which essentially is the rest of the triangle, was activated in 2007, will be retired next year in 15 years. So 8 years faster than was originally anticipated that we've retired the abatements that we gave those individuals to build in the triangle. $389,000 of economic activity will go back to jurisdictions, and $760,000 will go to property taxes back to the various jurisdictions there. And again, if you do the math, about 80% of that goes to the school district. We anticipate somewhere between $500,000 and $600,000 additional funds will be provided to the school district next year. We have two large tax abatements that will be rolling off in the coming years. The stamping plant, the original Ford stamping plant, that's a two-phase abatement. We gave them 100% abatement for 10 years and 50% abatement for 5 additional years. The plant was opened in 2013, 2023. It seemed like 10 years sounded like forever. Well, 2023 is here, virtually here. We estimate that the first 50%, remember at the end of 10 years it drops 50%, there'll be about $900,000 of additional property taxes that'll start flowing back to the taxing entities in 2023. This is an estimate because we still have to wait to see what the assessor actually assesses the property at, but we know how much it was built for and what the market has done, so we feel pretty confident in these numbers. But $900,000, about $700,000 of the Ford stamping plant property taxes will revert to the school district beginning in 2023. 5 more years from now, which again sounds like a long time, but it'll fly by in the bat of an eye. There'll be an additional almost $950,000, $960,000, I guess, by this math, that will flow to the school district. So once the Ford stamping plant had the abatements for the stamping plant have expired, almost $1.9 million additional financial resources for the school district. And somebody might say, well, they could have been receiving that all along if you hadn't abated the property taxes. Well, here's the reality, and remember I said we have to participate in the marketplace. Had we not extended abatements to the Ford stamping plant and the Ford Motor Company, they own a lot of property adjacent to the Ford plant in Clay Como. I am confident, without the abatements, without the vision and the bold move by the city government at that time, the Ford stamping plant would have been built about a quarter mile south of its current location. It would have been located in either the city of Clay Como, the city of Kansas City, and most importantly to us probably, it would have been located in the North Kansas City Public School District. So this $1.9 million that you see going to Liberty Public Schools would have been going to the North Kansas City Public School District in perpetuity. So I know it's a little painful in the years that you abated, that you wish we had the hands on that money. But as I say, the reality is it would have never been in the City of Liberty, never been in the Liberty School District, in my opinion, had that abatement not been offered. And I'm very proud that the school district's going to be the beneficiary of those kind of monies from the stamping plant. And then finally, LMV Automotive, it's in the industrial park. 10-year abatement, as you can see, about $190,000. I'm sorry, they did 100 at 10 and 50 for 5 more. So you can see we're almost to the 10-year mark where we'll shed the first 50%, $190,000, 80% of that going to schools, and then in 5 more years, in 2028, $390,000. Total abatement in 2028, once all of these things are matured, would be about $4.9 million more of property taxes and economic activity taxes flowing into our community. And there's no guarantee that $1 of that would be in our community had we not made those abatements and pursued that strategy and participated in the open marketplace. Every time we get a project, Ralph Boots from Liberty Economic Development Corporation and Brandon Smith, Karen Johnson before, can tell you it's a dogfight when a company wants to build in the metropolitan area. All gloves are off for what everybody can try to attract to their community, and that's the marketplace we participate in. Finally, where I started, the pandemic. The theme of last year's presentation was, imagine a day without city services. I can't tell you how proud I am of our city staff. Many of you have jobs, many of you have careers that necessitated you to be out there in your job every day. Your city staff was on the front lines every day, whether it was public safety, the utility department, public works, the economic development department. Everybody, it was an amazing effort by your city staff. And I can't say how proud I am of them. So in March of last year was when we first started the series of lockdowns, and we immediately mobilized the Emergency Operations Center headed by Chief John Mills and a number of folks from the City of Liberty. Started interacting with Clay County Health Department and other entities, Liberty Hospital. As I said, there's no lapse in service. We figured out different ways. The IT group did a great job of figuring out ways that we could do things on the internet and remotely. All hands were on deck. Staff pitched in. Particularly hard hit in the Parks and Recreation Department. We had to close down most programs, and a lot of, if not most of the funding for the Parks Department are participant fees. So as you can well imagine, in the last 12 months, there have been significantly reduced participant fees. But those individuals, we kept them employed and found ways that they could be productive and help us accomplish things, either things that had long needed to be done in the Parks Department or in other areas of the city. We've said it a number of times, I really don't want to hear the word fluid one more time. But, the situation is fluid. It was something that's pretty much a constant word that was offered in just about any meeting. But the council and the boards and commissions went to virtual Zoom meetings for a while in the summer. When things ebbed, we went back to in-person meetings, but then as things started cratering again, we have been and still continue to operate in Zoom meetings for most of the business of the city. We delayed the annual overlay project, keeping the streets up, and just as a cautionary way to conserve cash, we had about $1.8 million budgeted in 2020 to do a mill and overlay of streets. Well, I'm really proud to say that was the right thing to do, but we did not cancel that. We just postponed. So in 2021, we've taken what we post, the 1.8, 1.9 million, and it's about 1.8, I guess, and the 1.6 million that's budgeted this year. So we'll catch back up. We're going to do $3.4 million of mill and overlay in 2021. And our public works folk are going to have their hands full, but I just wanted to emphasize the services of the city continued, and some of them we've had to postpone, some of them we've had to reimagine, a few we've had to cancel. One, unfortunately, was the Chamber of Commerce sponsored Fall Festival last September. As you can see, Fall Festival, hometown holidays, some of those things. Fall Festival was canceled, home holidays, we reimagined that to be a virtual celebration. Liberty Fest was pretty much a virtual celebration. Hopefully this year all of those things will return, just as this meeting has, back to being an in-person experience. We're all looking forward to that, I'm sure. City of Liberty received CARES Act, and I just wanted you to know that we reached out to our partners. We provided Liberty Hospital $225,000 of CARES Act funding that was given to the City of Liberty. We extended that to Liberty Hospital to help them install negative pressure HVAC equipment so that they would have a floor and rooms specifically equipped to handle COVID patients. We extended $175,000 to Liberty Public Schools, bought a little over 2,000 desks so that their students, as they came back to campus, could socially distance. William Jewell College provided $100,000 so that they could do 100 COVID tests on students and faculty that were coming back into our community last fall from all parts of the United States. So this gave us an opportunity to get a baseline, provide the funds to them to get a baseline on making sure that everybody was COVID-free that was coming into our community, or if not, quarantining them appropriately. And then we made available to small businesses grant program. We provided grants to everyone who applied. Most of the grants were $10,000 per business. As you can see, that's just a little under $264,000 of grants. So I feel like we were pretty good stewards of the CARES Act funds that were placed in our hands, and shared those with people in our others in our community. And the last, the last thing I want to touch on, the thing that you probably need to be the proudest of, is Operation SAFE, that you may have heard some recently. This started out as a conversation between the City of Liberty, Liberty Hospital, the Liberty School District, and William Jewell College. For years, for over a decade, we've participated or nurtured what we call a partnership group of these four entities. And since March, David Fees of the hospital, Jeremy Tucker, the superintendent of schools, Elizabeth McLeod Walls, president of William Jewell College, and myself have engaged in a conversation every Wednesday morning to discuss what's going on in our community and what's going on in each of our areas, and how can we lean on and help each other to best serve the communities of this great city and the Liberty community, which includes the Liberty School District. We asked in April for Gary Zabarak, the Executive Director of the Clay County Public Health Department, to join that meeting with us every Wednesday morning. So Gary would give us the numbers, how things were trending up or down. He would use us as a soundboard for potential restrictions that might be coming down the pipe, whether they be implementing or relieving those. When the vaccines became available, this group started talking about how do we put together a facility to vaccinate our citizens as efficiently and as quickly as possible. We were joined, or we reached out to, and were joined by North Kansas City Hospital and the Cerner Corporation. Just to give you a little bit of a timeline, so we had been talking about how are we going to do this group of five Liberty groups. The mayor of the state of, the governor of the state of Missouri put out a request to the state health department at 5 p.m. on a Tuesday. We are going to approve, and this is the essence of that message, we're going to approve up to 16 mass vaccinators throughout the state of Missouri. You'll be paired with a partner. There'll be 8 districts. You'll be paired with a partner. We will assure you of at least 4,500 vaccines every week. We intend for that to increase, but we will assure you that initially. All those interested need to apply by noon tomorrow. So why I say this is important, there's a saying, the day you need a friend is not the day to try to make a friend. And so through these relationships, we have made friends over years and years. So it was very easy for us to quickly form a coalition, joined by North Kansas City Hospital and Cerner, and make that application to the state of Missouri. So as you know now, Operation SAFE is supplied with vaccines on an every other week basis. And in the absence of that coalition, I'm not certain there would be a mass vaccination facility north of the Missouri River, or at least certainly not in Clay County. So that just goes to the long-term relationships and the way this community functions. I would want to thank a few people. There are many, many more people that should be thanked, but these folks in particular were living, eating, and breathing this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for several weeks, and probably still are to some extent. But Chief John Mills, as I said, he set up our Emergency Operations Center. With his background in training, he set up the Operation SAFE at the Cerner site as the Incident Command head, coordinating all of these folks to get that first vaccination clinic set up. I should have finished that timeline. So we applied on noon Wednesday. We got word late Friday that we were one of the 16 that had been selected, and in the rotation we would receive vaccines the following Wednesday. So essentially from Friday at 5 p.m. to Wednesday is how long we had to set up, organize, and get invitations to the first 2,000 people that would come through that facility on day one. That's how much we need to thank Chief Mills, Assistant City Administrator Sarah Cook, Lieutenant Heather Massey of our police department did an outstanding job of coordinating all the vehicle traffic and queuing people up. If you've been through that facility, you know how it works. And then Shauna Thunderberg, who is the assistant to the city administrator, is working, helping us now. We got it stood up. We're getting folks vaccinated. Now it's time to start figuring out how we're going to pay for this. But I will assure you, we have bifurcated that conversation. Vaccinating and the operations is totally separate from how do we pay this. And I've used this word several times. We're not going to let the finance tail wag the vaccination dog here. So we will continue to vaccinate folks, but it is somewhat of an expensive proposition, even with the vaccine being provided for free by the federal government. We still have a lot of issues related to who pays for hypodermic needles, all the disposables, who pays for some of the personnel that are working, et cetera, that goes on and on. But I want you to know and be proud of those folks. We've been vaccinated the first 3-day session we had, which is in early February. We vaccinated just under 5,000 individuals in 3 days. We vaccinated until we ran out of vaccine. In fact, the last day we had to make apologies to a few people and set them up with an appointment for the next session, but we wanted to make sure we did not waste any vaccines. So we had people in line, a few, not very many, that we couldn't help that first day. We were to have vaccinated last week, but the cold weather forced the cancellation of that because we couldn't get the vaccine here. We will be doing a clinic Thursday and Friday. I believe those are the 2 days at Cerner. We expect to get this round, we expect to get about 4,000 to 6,000 people vaccinated. And as I say, we get the vaccine every other week. And so we're hoping, and we have been told that we did such a good job with that first 4,500 that we got in early February that that's why we got some additional vaccine. We hope to vaccinate as many as 6,000 folks in the next few days, and then we will continue to do that. So I'm going to wrap this up just by saying Liberty's persevered. The resilience of this community, the city staff, you just can't say enough about it. It was an unprecedented year for everyone. Progress did not stop. Economic vitality did not stop. I know there were individuals that were impacted by this, negatively impacted by this. And like I say, through the grants program, we hope to have mitigated that some. But locally owned businesses did, as part of that resiliency, they pivoted from all of their revenues being a dining room environment to everything's pickup. You pick it up at the curb kind of thing. So I'm going to close and take some questions, but the future of Liberty, it's bright in the 2021. We're moving forward. We've got so many things that are, shovels are turning now. As you saw, we have lots of opportunities in other areas, and lots of conversations going on now, things that I hope to talk to you about next year. Thank you very much for this opportunity, and have a great day.